This is a letter only for the husbands. It's a letter only for the husbands. And here he mentions 20 types of husbands that destroy marriage. And we're not going to mention all of them. We're just going to mention a few of them. And the Sheikh, after beginning by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we're going to give you a summary of what he said. He said, the husband, he requests from his wife that she is an ideal wife and that she is loving and compassionate and obedient to his commands, and she is a woman who beautifies herself for him. He said, but in response to that, you find some of the husbands, and they debase their wives, and they don't give their wives their rights. He said, yes, the husband has rights upon his wife. He said, but does the wife have any rights upon her husband? He said, without a doubt, the wives have many rights upon the husband. As Allah Ta'ala says, وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and live with them in kindness. If you hate something from them, then perhaps you hate something, and Allah will place in it a great deal of good. He said, Imām Sa'di, he said that living with them in kindness, it includes saying to them a kind word and dealing with them in kind actions. He said, so the husband has to live with his wife with good companionship, and he has to prevent any harm from reaching his wife. He said, and so this includes him spending upon her and providing her with clothing and being nice to her as he would like for her to be nice to him. And then he mentioned the verse, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and for the wives is similar to what, and the wives shall receive similar to what they have to give for that which is reasonable. He said, so I'm going to begin with the first husband, and this is at-tarik lis-salat, the husband who doesn't pray. He said, I say to you, to the husband who does not pray, don't you feel belittled that you see your wife and she's praying and you're not praying? Don't you feel that you are debasing yourself when your wife tries to wake you up for salat and you refuse to get up? He said, how can you expect to have happiness in the home and you have left off one of the pillars of Islam? How can you expect to have peace and peace for the marital life, and you are negligent of the remembrance of Allah Ta'ala? And no doubt that salat is from the remembrance of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And then he mentioned the narration from the Messenger of Allah alayhi salam. He said, الَّذِي بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَهُمْ الصَّلَاةِ فَمَنْ تَرَكَهَا فَقَدْ كَفَرَ, that the agreement between us and them is the prayer, and whoever leaves it off, then he has disbelieved. And he said, and there is not between the person and shirk and kufr except the abandonment of the salat. So whoever leaves it off, then he has associated partner with Allah Ta'ala. So this is the first man, the man who does not pray. He said the second type of man is the man who stays out all night. He says, and this is the man, he'll stay outside the home until midnight. He said, and sometimes he'll stay out until Fajr. He said, I say to the one who stays out from his home all night. He said, so he's out either playing cards or playing chess or playing backgammon or something like that, or doing something which is haram, like watching movies all night, or listening to music, or watching soap operas all night, or drinking or doing drugs. He said, I say to him, fear Allah and be cognizant that Allah Ta'ala is watching and observing you. He said, are you not afraid that while you're out all night, that shaitan is going to get control of your wife and make her go outside the house too? And so while you're out doing your evil, he'll get control of your wife and make her go out and do the same evil that you're doing. He said, and then we say to you, what do you think your wife was expecting when she left from the home of her parents? When she left from the walls of her parents' home, do you think that she was hoping to go to the walls of your house and be trapped in the house like she is? He said, verily, when your wife left her parents' home, she was hoping to receive warmness and tenderness just like you want. And she was hoping to have a good enjoyment for marriage like you want. So the second man is the man that stays out all night. The third type of man is the man who travels all the time. He said, you'll find that this type of man, there's never a time that a that he receives a break, meaning a break from work or school, except that his bags are already packed. His passport is ready. His ticket is in his pocket. He said, and he'll travel from land to land. Either he'll travel to disbelieving lands or he'll travel to lands that have evil widespread. He said, and why is he traveling? Is he traveling lil ibadah? Is he traveling for worship? He's not going to Hajj and Umrah. Is he traveling for da'wah? Or is he traveling looking for a prostitute? Is he traveling to go to a country where he can drink or do drugs? He said, and how can you go out and fornicate or commit adultery and then come back to your innocent wife and bring her AIDS? He said, and don't you know also that when you are out doing your fulfilling your desires, out traveling around the world, that you are being deficient in your wife fulfilling her desires? He said, and the Messenger of Allah salam, that he did not leave us without instructions, even for the instructions in the bedroom. He said, and he mentioned, إِذَا جَامَعَ أَحَدَكُمْ أَحْلَهُ, if one of you is intimate with his wife or with his family, then let him not be hasty with her after he has fulfilled his desire until she fulfills her desire. Let not the man be hasty with his wife and only be concerned about fulfilling his desire, but also let her fulfill her desire also. Naam. The Sheikh, he said, and although in this narration there is some weakness, he said, but the meaning is correct. He said, because the woman, they have the same right to pleasure as the man has. He said, so let no one be heedless that his wife also has to receive enjoyment. He said, Imām Sa'di, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said in this concerning the verse, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and for them is to receive similar to what they have to give and that which is reasonable. He said it means that the wife has rights from her husband that are obligatory and that must be present. He said, and these rights include him spending upon her, him providing her with clothing, him being kind to her, him providing her with a place to live, and also intimacy. This is a right that the wife has, right? So the third man is the man who travels all the time. The fourth man is the merchant. He said, the merchant, you'll find that his day is spent with trying to amass wealth. And at the nighttime, he comes home and sleeps like a dead man. He said, and he does not consider the rights of his wife in the bed. He said he does not even spend time to speak with her when he comes back from business and give her nice, kind talk. He said, and Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said concerning the noble manners of the Messenger of Allah, alayhi wasalam, he said he had the best way of living with his family. And he was always showing them a happy face and playing with them and being kind to them. He said, and when he would go pray Isha and return back to his home, before he would go to sleep, he would sit and talk with his family. Talk with his family and spend some family time. Now, the fourth one is the merchant. The fifth type of man is the man who he is confused about the rights of his parents and the rights of his wife. And he mixes them. He said, so this is the type of man that he believes that it's obligatory for his wife to serve his parents. And as a result, he oppresses his wife. He said, your wife serving your parents is not something which is obligatory according to the laws of Islam. It's not obligatory according to Islam for your wife to serve your parents. He said, yes, the wife can serve the parents because she wants to show kindness to them and because she wants to build love. He said, but it's not something which is obligatory. Naam. He said, but you find some of the men and they make their wife a servant for their parents, but he doesn't even let her serve her own parents. So this is the fifth man, the one who makes his wife serve his parents. He said the sixth man is the da'iyah, the man who's given da'wah. He says this is the man who he answers every call to go speak here and there. and he's gone for a long period of time, or he's doing lessons and classes. He says, and even when he gets done doing lessons and classes, when he returns back home, he goes straight to the internet and he's doing research and he's inside his books and he doesn't give any time to his wife. Now, he says, so this man is busy with that which is fard kifaya and he has left off that which is obligatory. He's given da'wah, which is something which is fard kifaya, but he's left off that which is obligatory, which is showing his wife some kindness and some attention. He said, and so this man, because he is out busy helping others, giving da'wah, but he is negligent in his own home, he said, this man is like the candle that lights the pathway for everyone else while it burns itself. So the sixth man is the one who's out giving da'wah and neglects his family. He said the seventh type of man, he said, this is the rough, hardcore, abrasive man. The man who is mean and rough with his family. He said, you'll find this man, he's always angry when it comes to his wife, always frowning in his face. But when he comes to other people, he's nice and he's kind and he's gentle with outside people. And he smiles with them. Now, he said, but rather what's obligatory upon him is that when it comes to his wife, he should be better and more kind with his wife than he is with other people. He says, and we have with the Messenger of Allah Islam an excellent example. And this is also was mentioned by Sheikh Suleiman Al-Ruhaili. He said that you'll find the man and he's outside with the brothers and he's the life of the party. He's always cracking jokes. He's the fun brother. But when he opens the door to his home, he's like a lion. He comes home and he's terrorizing his family. But outside, he's the good brother. So he said, the Messenger of Allah Islam said that he would make his wives laugh and he would play with them. And he even had the races with who? Our mother Aisha radiallahu anha. So the seventh man is the rough brother, right? The eighth one, he said, this is the man who he takes the text, meaning the ayah and the hadith, and he utilizes them in a way that it doesn't belong. He'll take an ayah or hadith and he'll put it in a place that it doesn't apply. And he said, I'll give you an example. He said there is a narration that mentioned if the man calls his wife for his need, if a man calls his wife for intimacy, then she should come to him even if she's at the oven. Even if she's at the oven, meaning that whenever the man calls his wife to be intimate, she should, make it happen. He said, and we're not doubting if this hadith is authentic or not. He said, but the husband has to look at the situation and look at what is better at that time. He said, because sometimes it's not a good time that sometimes the wife doesn't want to do anything with you. And the man should be considerate of that. He said, for example, he said, when the woman becomes pregnant, he said many times that woman hates the smell of her husband and he's far away. She's pregnant. And so the hormones are doing something to her. And so she just doesn't like the way her husband smells. And she's just tired sometimes. Sometimes she just doesn't want to do anything. And the man should be considerate about that. He said, sometimes the wife may have some problems with her families and she has something on her mind and she's not thinking about being intimate. He said maybe sometimes the wife has received some bad news and she's not in the mood to be intimate. He says sometimes the wife is busy cleaning the home, or maybe she's sick, or maybe she's busy taking care of your children and she's not in the mood to be intimate. He said, so are you going to put your desire before your kids? This is an obligation that she raised your kids, and from doing that, maybe she's not in the mood. So he said, so the man should be considerate and look at the situation, understand that sometimes his wife just doesn't want to be intimate and he should be considerate of that. Now, so the eighth man is a man who puts the text in a way that it doesn't belong. The ninth man is the man who does not respect his wife. He does not respect his wife. He says, so his wife has no value to him. He says, and he will belittle his wife in front of her children in front of his family and even in front of her family. He said, so he will belittle her. And if she speaks, he'll shut her up. He says, and if she orders the children to do something, he'll tell the children, don't do that. He said, rather you'll find some of the husbands and they ignore their wives in the home. The wife speaks to them and they just ignore them. He says, and so she has no authority at all to even command the children. He says, and you find some of the husbands and they even order their children to disobey their mother. And they may even tell them to hit their mother. He says, so now you become responsible for your children committing a major sin by disobeying and disrespecting their mother. You become responsible for that because you order your kids to do this major sin. He says, and you find some of the men, some of the husbands, and they disrespect their wives in front of her family. And it is as though they're saying to her family, what you gonna do? I'm disrespecting her in front of you and you're not gonna do anything. He said, and some of the men, they disrespect their wives in front of their family because they want to show, I run the house. I'm the man. And they want to seem like the big dog in front of their family. So they disrespect their wives. He said, but it's not from manhood that you show off in front of your family or her family by trying to disrespect her. He said, but rather it is upon you to show her kindness and gentleness. And you have to show the kids how you respect women. And this is something, Ya Ikhwan, as a footnote that the brothers have to consider, right? Because there's a fear, because you find that the brothers, we always complain about how bad the women are. Like we're not responsible for making them like that. And there's a fear that our daughters may grow up and not want to marry a Muslim man. If they see us disrespecting our wives all the time, they say, this is how the Muslim woman has to live. And then they come to the masjid and the sisters are talking about what the husband do at home. And they say, man, I'm going to marry this pious Muslim brother, and this is what he's going to do to me when I get grown. SubhanAllah, Ya Ikhwan. So the ninth man is who? The man who doesn't respect his wife. The 10th man, and this is the last one that we'll mention, although there are 10 more because there's a total of 20. He says, this is the man who prevents his wife from learning her deen. So he prevents his wife from learning her deen. Ikhwan, why do you think a man will prevent his wife from learning her deen? When the sheikh, he mentions that the woman is married, the narration that the woman is married for 4 things, right? What are the 4 things? Her looks, her status, wealth, and her deen. Which one should the man marry her for? The deen. So why would a man prevent her from learning her deen if this is what you should marry the woman for? Ahsantum. Because he doesn't want her to know that what he's doing is haram. He wants to be able to smoke. He said the cigarettes and the hookah pipe. He wants to be able to have the satellite in his home and watch the satellite channels. He wants to be able to do evil, and he doesn't want her to get this knowledge that what he's doing is haram. So the more knowledge she gets, that she knows that he's a slacker. And she doesn't, and he doesn't want his wife to get this knowledge because he'll be exposed for doing the haram. Now, inshallah ta'ala, we'll stop here. But the sheikh, he goes on, inshallah ta'ala, and perhaps we can mention some more of this tomorrow if I'm not able to stick one of the other brothers with a lesson, inshallah. Now, this is a letter to the husbands only by Sheikh Jamal Al-Harithi. Was that for a recap? Okay. The first one is the man who leaves off the prayer. The second one is the man who stays out all night. Third one is the man who travels all the time. Fourth one is the merchant or the businessman, meaning the one who he allows his business to distract him from his family. The fifth one is the man who makes his wife a servant for his family. The sixth one is the man who is so involved in Dawah that he neglects his household. The seventh one is the mean brother, the brother with the rough manners. The eighth one is the man who uses the text in the incorrect context. He uses the ayah and the hadith in a place that they do not belong. Ninth husband is the one who does not respect his wife, meaning he disrespects her in front of the children, his family, and her family. And the 10th one that we mentioned is the man who prevents his wife from learning her religion. The man who prevents his wife from learning her religion. No.